19500 KT.14. However, none of these upgraded models were ever developed. The SALT II Treaty, signed in 1979, prohibited increasing the number of warheads ICBMs could carry. Equally, from a strategic point of view, concentrating so many warheads on silo-based missiles was not seen as desirable, since it would have made a large proportion of the USSR's warheads vulnerable to a counter-force strike. The operational deployment of the R-36M consisted of the R-36M UTTKH, which carried 10-500 KT warheads, and its follow-on the R-36M2, 15-18M, which carried 10-800 KT warheads. Single warhead versions with either 8.3 mount or 20 mount warhead also existed at some point. To partially circumvent the treaty, the missile was equipped with 40 decoys to utilize the capacity left unused due to the 10 warhead limitation. 15. These decoys will appear as warheads to any defensive system, making each missile as hard to intercept as 50 single warheads, rendering potential anti-ballistic defense ineffective. Silo hardness. A U.S. military estimate circa 1994 said SS-18 silos have since been assessed to be much harder than 7,000 Psi 48 MPa. 16 variants. R-36, SS-9. R-36. The R-36 is a two-stage rocket powered by a liquid bipropellant, with UDMH as fuel and nitrogen tetroxide as an oxidizer. It carries one of two types of re-entry vehicles, RVs, developed especially for this missile: single nuclear warhead of 20 megatons TNT, NATO codename SS-9 Mod 1. 17. Single nuclear warhead of 8.3 megatons TNT, NATO codename SS-9 Mod 2. 17. The first launch of an R-36 took place on the 28th of September, 1963, and ended ignominiously when the missile lost thrust 1 second after liftoff and fell back onto the pad, causing a fire. 18. This debacle led to Program Director VP Petrov being fired and replaced by VN Solovyev. LC-67/1 was repaired and the next test took place successfully on December the 3rd. Subsequent testing went better, however. LC-80/1 had to be rebuilt following another launch accident on the 13th of January, 1965. 2 months later, an R-36 caught fire during propellant loading on LC-67/1 and exploded, putting the pad out of commission for 9 months. 19. During test launch #17, the 10th of October, 1964, the warhead was retrieved with a parachute. Flight tests of the rocket were completed by the 20th of May, 1968. And on the 19th of November of the same year it entered service. 19. First, and only, regiment with 18 launchers was deployed on the 25th of August, 1969. A total of 139 8K-67s flew between 1963 and 1975 with 16 failures. The Zyklon series of civilian space launches from Ukraine is based on the R-36 Orb 869, or R-36O, capital O for orbital. Design. 20. The R-36O launched many orbital satellites, like Cosmos 160, SatCat 2806, on the 17th of May, 1967, in the 1960s and 1970s as part of the FOB's weapons program. R-36M, SS-18 Mod 1. Variant of the R-36M carrying a single large re-entry vehicle, with a warhead yield of 18 to 25 mount, a distance of about 11,000 kilometers, 6,000 mi. In January 1971, cold launch tests began during which the mortar launch was perfected. The actual flight tests for the missile began on the 21st of February, 1973, though some sources suggest that testing began in October, 1972. The testing phase of the R-36M with various different types of warheads was finished in October 1975, and on the 30th of December 1975 deployment began, though some Western sources suggest that an initial operational capability was reached in early 1975. A total of 56 were deployed by 1977. Though all were replaced by R-36M UTTKH missiles by 1984. These high-yield weapons were assessed in the West as possibly developed to attack American Minuteman ICBM launch control centers. R-36M, SS-18 Mod 2. Variant of the R-36M with a post-boost vehicle and up to 8 reentry vehicles, each with a warhead yield estimated at between 0.5 and 1.5 mount, with a range capability of about 10,200 kilometers, 5,500 mi. Their MIRVs were placed in pairs, and a post-boost vehicle with a command structure and a propulsion system were contained in the nose cone of the R-36M. The flight tests of this variant began in September 1973. Though some Western sources suggest that the initial flight test occurred in August 1973, with IOC in 1975. Approximately 132 were deployed by 1978, but the post-boost vehicle design was seriously flawed and all missiles were replaced by R-36M UTTKH by 1983. R-36M UTTKH, SS-18 Mod 3. Variant of the R-36M UTTKH with a single large reentry vehicle that was an improved version of the R-36M. On the 16th of August, 1976, a few months after the R-36M entered service, the development of an improved modification of the R-36M, 15 or 14, was approved. This missile subsequently received the designation R-36M UTTKH, 15 or 18, and was developed by KB Yuzhnoye, OKB 586, through December 1976. The R-36M UTTKH was capable of carrying two different nose cones. On the 29th of November 1979, deployment of the improved R-36M with a single reentry vehicle carrying an 1825 mount warhead began. This variant is no longer in service. 21. R-36M UTTKH, SS-18 Mod 4. Variant of the R-36M UTTKH with multiple warheads. It was probably designed to attack and destroy ICBMs and other hardened targets in the U.S. Its increasing accuracy made it possible to reduce the yield of warheads and allowed an increase in the number of warheads from 8 to 10. According to some Western estimates, evidence suggested that it may be capable of carrying as many as 14 RVs. This may reflect observation of the deployment of countermeasures intended to overcome a ballistic missile defense, or to confuse American attack characterization systems. The flight design tests of the R-36M UTTKH began on 31 October 1977, and in November 1979 the flight tests of the MIR-VED missile were completed. The first 3 regiments were put on alert on the 18th of September 1979. During 1980 a total of 120 missiles were deployed, replacing the last remaining R-36 missiles. In 1982-1983 the remaining R-36M missiles were also replaced with the new R-36M UTTKH, and the total number of deployed missiles reached the maximum 308 ceiling established in the SALT I Treaty. The R-36M UTTKH force had the estimated capability to destroy 65 to 80% of US ICBM silos using 2 nuclear warheads against each. Even after this type of attack, It was estimated that more than 1,000 R-36 MUTTKH warheads would be available for further strikes against targets in the U.S. After 2009, the R-36 MUTTKH were all eliminated in favor of newer R-36M2. R-36M2 Voevoda, SS-18 Mod 5. This newer, more accurate version placed in converted silos allowed the R-36M family to remain the bulwark of the SRF's hard target kill capability. The R-36M2 carries 10 MIRVs, each having a nearly twice the yield of the R-36 MUTTKH warheads according to Western estimates, approximately 750 KT to one round. The Russian sources suggest a yield of 550–750 KT each. The increase in the R-36M2's warhead yield, along with improved accuracy, would, under the START treaty, help allow the Russians to maintain the hard target kill wartime requirements even with the 50% cut in heavy ICBMs the START agreement required. The technical proposals to build a modernized heavy ICBM were made in June 1979. The missile subsequently received the designation R-36M2 Voevoda and the industrial index number 15A18M. The design of the R-36M2 was completed in June 1982. The R-36M2 had a series of new engineering features. The engine of the second stage is completely built into the fuel tank, earlier this way solely used on SLBMs, and the design of the transport launching canister was altered. Unlike the R-36M, the 10 warheads on the post-boost vehicle are located on a special frame in two circles. The flight tests of R-36M2 equipped with 10 MIRVs began in March 1986 and were completed in March 1988. The first regiment with these missiles was put on alert on the 30th of July 1988 and was deployed on the 11th of August 1988. Thighs is the only variant still operational. One of the missile's most important features is its storage forward/facing in a container, inserted in the silo. The container doubles as a mortar barrel. It has a piston at its bottom, beneath the missile. The drum-like piston is filled with a slow-burning, gas-pressure generating charge that pushes, mortar-like, the missile from the container. Only when several meters above the silo with the now empty container the piston is pushed sideways by a small rocket motor to avoid being accelerated towards the silo by the ignition of the missile's main engine. Thus the silo is spared the burning out by the main engine flames, and so the empty container could be quickly removed and a new container with missile could be inserted by a ready transporter forward/erector into the intact silo, allowing for a second salvo before the adversary's warheads arrived. This feature was a deep concern for the US side during the SALT forward/START negotiations, as it gave Soviet Union the possibility to strike US targets again after the first missile exchange was concluded. R-36M2 Voevoda, SS-18 Mod 6. The flight tests of the R-36M2 missile carrying a single warhead with a yield of 20 mount were completed in September 1989 and deployment began in August 1991. 10 missiles were deployed. One intended use of these large warheads was high-altitude detonation to incapacitate electronics and communications through a very large electromagnetic pulse. However, the most likely use would be against missile launch control chinters as the stated purpose for which the R-36 MUTTKH warheads were designed. These missiles were decommissioned by late 2009. Derivatives. A proposal has been advanced to modify Voevoda R-36M2 Satan heavy ICBMs to destroy incoming asteroids of up to 100 m, similar to the Chelyabinsk asteroid. 22. Deployed variants of the R-36M missile, 23, 24, 17, System R-36 Mr. 36 Mr. 36 Mutka 36 Mutka 36 M2 R-36 M2 Treater Designation RS-20 RS-20A1 RS-20A2 RS-20B RS-20B RS-20 Ground Designation 15A1415A1415A1415A1815A18 NATO Designation SS-18 Satan Mod 1 SS-18 Satan Mod 2 SS-18 Satan Mod 3 SS-18 Satan Mod 4 SS-18 Satan Mod 5 SS-18 Satan Mod 6 Deployment 1974